Okay, so about time, right? Well, frankly, I have no idea how Curtis movies are so popular. I mean, I haven't basically seen many of them, but I've just, this wasn't, I mean, intentional. It just happened that I watched this as well after the film. I just watched, recently, and I watched probably the most popular movie of his, made in '94, for weddings. And as I said, in that other commentary, I have no idea why that's so popular. With this, I mean, at least there are some attempts at unique prospects, right? At least. Whereas, for weddings, there was absolutely none, except, like, just any other rom-com that somehow people went mad over. I don't get it. I don't get it. Um, yeah. Um, Apparently, he wrote Mr. Bean as well. And uh, what do you know? It's popular as well. I mean, no, it's popular, mind you. It's popular. Just still popular. Like, this guy literally writes a character who doesn't even speak, and it's popular. Uh, I don't know. It's a weird one. It's like he enchants audiences, and that's it. Um, it's weird, very weird. I mean, Mr. Bean is 8.5. That is absolutely ridiculous. Fif- it only has 15 episodes. 8.5. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, okay, well, whatever. I mean, just uh, these are slightly different, but honestly, I have. I mean, this was supposed to be a comedy, and I couldn't detect it. I couldn't see. I just couldn't really. I mean, there was barely any supposed time travel as well. It was there very capriciously when it was there. Like oh, I didn't enjoy. I don't know. I could possibly enjoy sex a bit more. I mean, it's ridiculous. Who the hell would use time travel to possibly have a better, like? Can't you just wait a few hours and go at it again? Like, is this supposed to be comic from the whole ludicrousness aspect? I don't get it. I just, yeah, I really don't get why, like, at least there is an attempt at this, sort of possibility of, interesting. I mean, it began interesting, you could say, sure, it did, and obviously when it was introduced, when the whole, you know, I have something to tell you, you know, and I did think it was maybe going to be about, the birds and the bees and whatnot. So, as far as that goes, it's funny, but other than that, there wasn't really anything else that was funny. Certainly, the fate of his father wasn't funny. I don't get it. Where is the comedy? I mean, unless you call it a comedy just because you have literally a single scene which lasts less than a minute. Other than that, what? There's just loads of children, and of course a wedding. Wow, Curtis just cannot hold himself. Can he? Obsessed with weddings. Like, seriously, he's as obsessed with weddings as I think he's obsessed with wealthy people, possibly, considering every single movie of his seems to be about, well, I suppose, with the exception of Mr. Bean, I suppose, I don't know what the hell he's supposed to be. But, seriously, I mean, he's absolutely obsessed, like, for weddings and this one, like, come on! This was about time travel, what? Does it cost now as well? Like, oh, really? They happen to live in such a location today? Oh, wow, amazing. I mean, I cannot take it seriously, can I? Just this guy's obsessed with both weddings and that, and it's just what. Apparently, it's some listed building that he set it in. So, wow, wow. Yeah, well, I suppose he thought that it might not have might not have lived up to his reputation if it wasn't a listed building or whatever, listed. Just I don't get it. I mean, what did he think it wouldn't be comic if it wasn't near the sea? I mean, yeah, by all means, make it near the sea. It's more beautiful to look at, I suppose. But I don't know. This wasn't supposed to be about. I suppose. I mean, he really did get in the sweet, didn't he? The sugar at the end, especially. Oh, we're supposed to live life here and there. Like what? I can't believe people are like at the end. Yep, 7.5. What? It's so ham-fisted. I need subtlety to go above 7. I need subtlety. This was not 7.8. I mean, wow, great. I guess a bit more, and it's in the top 2 vote. It's the most ridiculous thing. This is seriously why why the tyranny of the majority doesn't work. I mean, if people thought, for weddings itself, was somehow the most amazing thing ever, I don't get it. It's like any other rom-com, unless people rating it are somehow, I've never watched a rom-com before. I just, most rom-coms are like that, with the exception of some of the script writing and nothing else. Like literally, most rom-coms are actually less boring because having 4 weddings is a lot, right? But this at least had only one. Great, yay, an improvement. But somehow people still think it's the best thing ever. Apparently, like it didn't live up to its potential, in my opinion. Like it could have done better. I mean, it's about time travel, so most time traveling tales are usually interesting. This somehow wasn't. I mean, I was prepared to think it's interesting because, as I say, most are interesting, but this wasn't. Like as many reviewers said, it breaks its own supposed rules left, right, and center. Nobody can just argue, oh, he goes to the future because he's already been there, and somehow it's not the future. I mean, you know, sure, it's not hard sci-fi. I'm not expecting hard sci-fi. It's the softest of fantasies, really. It's not even sci-fi at all. I don't consider it sci-fi. Sci-fi obviously needs much more rigor, even just normal sci-fi, really. I think. Besides, the possibility of spaceships and subjects would really help. But no, you know, I don't mind if this had a lot more of the time traveling aspect. Actually, it didn't though. I mean, he obviously wanted to focus on the romantic aspect more, and it was too much really. Like beyond the proposal itself. So the proposal was interesting, how it happened, but beyond that, after she accepted to dine with him, etc., it got boring. I don't know what it is. It just got boring, Just did, and yeah, and honestly, another thing as well, the fact that he went back in time, and I mean, honestly, the asshole scene of the day in the movie was when he went back, and he didn't care if his own supposed sister, was in a car crash, just so he'd have the child he previously knew. Like, who cares if your child has blonde or brown hair, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not like, I mean, I don't know. Does he think he killed his previous child or something? It just simply never existed. I mean, any basic biology would tell you that there's already the potential of millions of slight different variations. Um, well, yeah, that's that's another thing actually. I mean, it's not like they obviously play with the idea that oh yeah, if you change something big, then yeah, that could possibly change. But not if there are just tiny changes or something. But honestly, for a time traveling movie, this is one of the most boring I've ever seen. It just was. I've certainly seen better and more interesting. And the fact that it ends like that. I mean, you can never call it a comedy when someone dies like that. It's just not a comedy. I mean, it was heartfelt, to be honest. Going for a last hug and all, even though it breaks time traveling rules, obviously. But let's just put them to the side for a second there. Just uh, that was an interesting concept, I got to admit. Going back to before someone died, regardless of any possible logical loopholes. I mean, if that was possible, it would be awesome. So that was probably the most interesting aspect. But you cannot just have one solitary aspect, can you? I mean, um, it would have been better, I think, if there was more of a focus on that this aspect as opposed to just weird romance. And they obviously went through. I mean, there weren't a lot of legal scenes, certain courts and such, but the ones that were there were pathetic. Like, what was he smiling about? Wow, I feel like smiling so much. For what? I don't know. It's one of those things. I can't believe people went out of this movie thinking, oh, he smiled for some reason. 8.7! 8! 7! I mean, 7.8, yeah, whatever. I'm just saying, I mean, obviously, probably they didn't think of that saying specifically when they rated it, but I'm just saying, um, there were some really boring and pathetic and nonsensical scenes, all considered. That for weddings mostly had boring scenes because at least they didn't try to have unique concepts. um, I don't mean at least exactly. I mean, if they had unique concepts, it would be more interesting. So yeah, this had the potential of being more interesting, but somehow he still fudged up, in my opinion, because he still mostly inserted boring scenes as opposed to interesting scenes. Like in anime, there is the girl who leapt through time, right? Now it's been many many years since I've seen it, so I cannot quite make any sort of analysis of it. I remember thinking, though, it's somewhat similar. In that the girl really tries to change small aspects of her life, so very similar in animated form, obviously. But I do remember that it also didn't really make much interesting usage of time traveling aspect of it. So this is the problem, when movies just do not. It's a problem. It's like it's like almost time traveling is a secondary aspect, to some movies, which really it shouldn't be because time traveling is an interesting possibility. I put whenever it happens in movies, it does make them more interesting by default, unless somehow they put in a wedding. Then what do you know? Unless it's someone who happens to be obsessed about weddings or something, in which case they probably aren't as interested in time traveling, then great, this movie's for them. And apparently, there's a lot of such people who rated it highly. But this is the problem. I mean, and by the way, what he even has his son in, what was this whole exercise just to have his son in the movie? Wow, great, write a script for nepotistic purposes. Why not? Yeah. Um, it's not the worst thing, but it is boring. It's a boring movie, and I don't know. Like, what's the point? Honestly, the only person who seemed interesting was Bill Nighy's character. He seems always somehow interesting in movies. But other than him, I really can't think of anyone else who fits there. definition of interesting, and the movie itself is fairly mediocre, despite the time travel.